Welcome back to the Double Leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Jive Picks. The other half of the show, The Parlay. Joining me in to recap some UFC 287. Quite the card. I was there in attendance, just got back this morning. It was a wild atmosphere in Miami and a wild main event. What'd you think of it?
Best card of the year, man. There's so many good finishes, and the bets didn't quite go my way. I feel like we were so close on some, made some good plays, made some bad ones. But man, to be there live, that's got to be, I mean, one of the best cards you could possibly see live. I mean, the crowd, the atmosphere, Donnie Trump being there. I mean, everything, man. That's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a wild time, and even better, we had a great night on the premium plays and a couple plays that were not on the premium plays. Overall, on the night, I went up 5.3 units, and we went 6-1 on the props again. So
Killed
we
them.
stayed hot on the props on the year. Take a look at the stats on the year. 68% in prize picks. That's 17-8 record, and a no house advantage. 22-4, hitting at 85%. We went 3-1 on no house advantage last night. Unfortunately, Yanez got popped in that first round and couldn't get that over the strikes. But that's the only one we didn't hit for the props. So other than that, on the plays that we hit, a couple notable ones. Steve Garcia by KO plus 425. That was a good hit after he got rocked in that first round, coming back and sleeping him in the second. Joe Pyfer, round one KO plus 425, had that one for a half a unit. So there's a nice little plus 2.2 units right there. And then a couple other plus money props. Holland by KO, Bahamondes by decision. That's plus 185 and plus 165. And then hit a prize picks play as well for 3x. So a couple notable hits there for some good plus money. And hopefully we can keep that rolling into UFC Kansas City next week. But for now, we got to recap this UFC 287 card because there's a lot to talk about, a lot of shit that happened. And we could start with the main event because, my goodness, I didn't expect it to go like that, to be that insane of a finish and everything. But, man, Izzy pulled it out in the second round. Just a wild way for that fight to go because first round was kind of like similar to what we've seen, just kind of two guys going back and forth. Pereira actually outlanded him there, and Izzy got the round on all three judges' scorecards and then knocks him out in the second round. But it was looking like it was going to be a similar fight to the first one. And then Izzy just hits him with that same combo that he hit him with in that first round of that the first MMA fight that almost put him out, but the clock ran out. And he put him out with that second right hand to the noggin. And just a crazy, that was just nuts. I remember watching it. I could picture it in my head because I had the point of view where I was sitting was right up against the cage. So I was like, Izzy's back. And I just see him throw that right hand and Pereira kind of ducks like that and throw another one. And then he's just on top of him, landing the hammer fist. I'm like, what the fuck? Crazy shit. I don't think I could ever see like Pereira just out cold sleeping like that just because he's such a scary dude. And to see him like that is nuts. But quite the win for Izzy. And
Yeah.
I was happy for him. I was really happy for him. I put a side bet on him that wasn't on the premium plays just because I wanted something in the main event. And I thought Izzy was going to win. But how confident could you really be? Yeah, if a guy's beat him 3 times before. But I thought the minus 120 on him was like just crazy value. Like you never get that line on Izzy. I'm like, I think he's coming back for something this time. So I put a side bet on him, cashed that. I was happy about it. And then as we've said before on the show, whenever you give a prediction out, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram, and put the prediction out that Izzy would sleep him, and it came true. So I was happy about that because those feel better than
Oh
actually
yeah.
winning the money. So
Oh, for sure. 100%.
I was so happy that that happened, and couldn't happen to a better competitor in Izzy. You know, a lot of off shit on him. He's just fun to mess around with. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I love him, and I love watching him compete. So, what'd you think?
Yeah, man, dude. I thought Pinheiro had a good chance to go in there and win again, but the fashion that Izzy did it in, like that's so good for Izzy. Like you just shut so many people up. Not just about being 0-3 against Alex, 2 in kickboxing, 1 in MMA, but for being a boring fighter. If you remember, before the first fight with Alex, everybody talking about Izzy's boring. This is a snooze fest every time he fights now. That was insane last night. I mean, that was one of the best knockouts. I mean, probably knockout of the year right now, I'd say.
Yeah.
Just because like what's at stake, the hype behind that second fight. I mean, dude, that overhand right was nasty, and then he hit him one more time, and that left hand was coming too, but he was sleeping by then. So I was super impressive. Best celly of all time too, shooting the arrows. I mean, just cold. He had that plan too. He had that plan because that was like right as Alex, right after he got pulled off of Alex. That was sick. But yeah, I'd watch a third fight between those two. Dana White seems to think that Alex is going to go up to 205 and that third trilogy fight will not happen. But I just feel like, there's money to be made there if they did fight again. I feel like there's always going to be money to be made with two of the best kickboxers in the UFC fighting. But the fight itself, first round was a lot of feeling out process, and then they got going guns blazing in the second. And I just think Alex thought he had him hurt, I guess, maybe with one of those shots that backed him up against the cage. And that knee he threw, landed on Izzy. That knee landed pretty good right on the jaw. And from there, I think he just thought he smelt blood and went in for the kill and ended up biting him in the ass, man. I don't know if Izzy was necessarily, playing possum or a little rope-a-dope or something, but he looked all there to me from that right hand. I mean, he gave everything he had into that right hand and landed it perfectly. So, yeah, hats off to Izzy, man. It's always fun to have a champion that's like a pure striker. I mean, you look at some of these wrestling guys like Islam and Aljamain's a good striker, but he wants to fight on the floor. It's always fun when you get a champion who's a striker who can knock people out. Just makes it a lot more fun. So overall, though, yeah, fun fight for sure.
Yeah, I would rather see Pereira go fight someone else and like get a win. Like maybe it's another crazy knockout win, and then if they want to make the fight after that, if Izzy doesn't have anybody else to fight, that'd be pretty cool. I think that would help with the stock of like building the fight again because maybe you strike it while it's hot and do it again if Pereira is going to stay at 185. But I would almost like to see both guys fight someone else. Maybe they both win and then come back, whether it's like next year or something, and fight again. We'll see, though. I don't think Pereira wants to make 185 ever again. Like,
I mean, how much did that play into like his chin too? I mean, he cut so much weight. He put so much weight.
I was thinking about that throughout the week. I'm like, dude, one of these times, like if he cuts that much weight, it has to affect his chin. Like it has to. That many times he's cut weight that many times, and he's 36 too. So I mean, he's been a kickboxer. Hasn't really been a kickboxer for that long, but he's still 36, cutting that much weight. It's got to play a factor eventually. So, kind of did.
Honestly, at 205 too. I mean, that's kind of like a division for him. There's not a lot of wrestlers right now up at the top. You got, you got Jamal Hill, Yuri Prohaska. If he wants to go up to 205, I think he can compete. He's got the size, obviously the knockout power. I think there's fun fights for him up there.
Yeah, I would like to see it. See how big he is at 205. If he
massive
puts any weight on to like, or if he just doesn't cut that much weight or whatever. I would assume he puts a little bit of weight on.
Yeah,
eats a little bit dirtier and enjoys life a little bit.
Yeah.
The co-main, Gilbert Burns taking out Jorge Masvidal, retiring him. I thought it was a clear 30-27. One of those judges, I think, just gave him a little bit of a gift there in the first round. But first round was like kind of close, but I think Gilbert won it with the takedown. I think he landed the harder shots as well. You could see he outstruck him, but any shot that Masvidal really landed, it just didn't seem like it had much pop on it. And then Gilbert would counter him with something bigger. And overall, just got the pretty easy win.
Yep.
And I think I don't really understand how people could really look at that and be like, Masvidal has a chance. I know like the odds, you'd be like, yeah, it's probably worth a sprinkle. Maybe you just don't really expect it to hit. Like you just kind of throw it on him for something fluke shit to happen. But there was people that were literally like, no, Masvidal's winning this for sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, how could you look at that and really think Masvidal is like a lock this week? Just not happening, bro. Like Gilbert is at the top of the welterweight division. Like he is one of the best, and Masvidal just hasn't been that like really for any point in his career. Like he hasn't really been the top tier guy any point in his career in the UFC. Like you could say he's fought the top guys, but he hasn't proven that he really belongs like that much at the top of the division. Maybe he can survive for 5 rounds, but yeah, I don't want to make this like a shitting on Masvidal thing, but retired, still a legend in the sport because of his personality and the way he comes to fight. He's always going to try to put on a show, and all respect to him. Moving on to whatever he does with the promotion. I would like to see him keep doing promotions like that with game boxing and everything. That'd be pretty sick, and a good name to have behind that. For Burns, moving on to be the backup for the Kobe and Leon fight. I guess that's kind of been confirmed between the post-fight press conference and everything. But looks like he's in his peak right now. Like it's crazy to say because he's 36 or 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's 36. But I think he's probably at his best he's ever looked as of recently. So what you think?
Yeah, man. Afro Burns is not to be messed with. It was Burns like won the fight clearly, obviously, but it just wasn't as exciting, I guess, as a lot of people I think expected it to be. And the one thing you could really tell, especially sitting at home watching, I'm sure like live it's a little different, but Masvidal has 100% lost a step or two. He's nowhere near as fast and explosive. I mean, it's definitely time for him to retire. But yeah, you got to love Masvidal's like story, coming from nothing, making a name for himself, making millions of dollars. And he's definitely got a career in whatever business he wants to do after the UFC. But Gilbert Burns, man, matching up against Leon, that one would make me nervous for Gilbert because Leon, has dealt with the wrestling before. Striker, obviously, he's a good grappler, but I think Gilbert can get Colby. I think he could. I think that stylistically, he matches up better with Colby. Gilbert's got a gas tank. He's going to fight tooth and nail till the end. Obviously, he's got the grappling, and he hits like a truck, man. He was snapping the head back of Masvidal quite a few times. There was some shots I'm surprised it didn't drop Masvidal. He had him wobbled a couple times, but yeah, man. I love Gilbert. I hope he does well going forward, and I hope he gets another title shot before he's lost a step too. Because like you just said, he is 36 years old, so it's kind of now or never for Gilbert. But I do think he does. He'll get one more crack at it for sure. Hope he wins it too.
Yeah, I would love to see Gilbert and Colby because
oh my god,
we saw Gilbert and Hamzat, and nobody other than Gilbert has been able to like hang in any realm with Hamzat's wrestling. And Gilbert he looked fine against Hamzat as far as wrestling goes. Literally made Hamzat just stand and strike with him. So I think he could definitely handle Colby's wrestling and maybe do something offensively against him as well. So I'd love to see it. Rob Font, Adrian Yanez. It looking like it was going to be an absolute barn burner until Yanez got clipped with that right hand and picked up and thrown off of his body and sent to the shadow realm. But look at these strike numbers. I mean, 33 significant strikes, 25 for Yanez in less than 3 minutes. So they were throwing, and that's how I expected it to go. But I didn't expect, a first round finish, especially not from Rob Font. But I thought he'd be most dangerous in round one. Maybe Yanez could take over later. But a good spot for Rob Font. What you think?
Yeah, no, that was insane. That was the one thing that all week I had in the back of my head was if Rob Font can get that jab going, like he's going to cause Adrian Yanez a lot of problems. We saw Randy Costa, pepper Yanez, a bunch in that first round when they fought. He did a lot of damage. I don't know if he had Yanez hurt necessarily, but that damage was accumulating. And Rob Font has a tremendous jab and tremendous boxing too. That knockout was insane. You could tell Yanez was really pissed after through the mouthpiece, kind of yelling at the ref, but perfect stoppage in my opinion. He was going to get finished badly. But Yanez taking that loss like that knockout loss, I think could actually prove to be good for him in a way. I mean, he hasn't really lost in the UFC, never been knocked out, obviously. And now you kind of go back to the drawing board, fix a few things, because offensively on the feet and his boxing is super crisp and he hits hard. I mean, he tagged Font with a shot there early on in the fight that might drop most people. I got him right on the orbital bone. You could tell Font's eye was swelling up really, really bad just from that one shot. But defensively, he's just a little too stationary right now. He doesn't move his head that well. He just eats every shot. And against a guy like Font, who's super accurate, I mean, it showed that you just can't do that at this level. So I think he learns a lot from that. He learns that he's not untouchable on the feet. He can just go out there and knock everybody out. I think defensively he makes some adjustments and he comes back and we see a better Yanez, honestly.
Yeah. And I had noticed that too. Even from where I was sitting, it's like Yanez was getting like touched up. And I kind of had that feeling as the fight was going on. I'm like, I don't know how many they could take of these like back and forth, and then boom, gets clipped. And people always talk about the jab of Rob Font, and it's like very well known. But just still watching it, you're like, damn, that thing is nice. Like just like a lever's just getting shot out of like it's like you're clicking a button. It's just the arm just gets shot out.
It's so fast too.
It is, and it's out and it's back. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But everybody knows that. Kevin Holland, Santiago Ponzinibbio. What an ending to this one. I was sweating out the Holland by KO. And dude, let your hands go. And he had Holland or Ponzi hurt a couple times, but didn't finish him off. And then Holland, that left hook picked it out of his ass and just threw it all the way across the octagon. It's like he threw his arm all the way across the cage, landed on the chin. Down goes Ponzi, face plants or he's got his face stuck in the floor, and then Holland hits him again, kind of like wakes him back up, and then the ref jumps in, and Ponzi's like, "What? I'm like, dude, you were face down in this. That was a good stoppage. Otherwise, you'd probably be hurting a lot more." But I had a feeling that chin was going to get cracked at some point because he's older. Kevin Holland has a lot of power. He's got a lot of length too. Like you could definitely tell, like that shot he knocked him out with, the length helped a lot because he's got those long arms, and it was a full extension of the arm to reach that chin. So, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I thought Ponzi had a great game plan. Like he was chewing that leg up pretty bad. It was making me nervous to have. I had Holland inside the distance, and when he was eating those kicks and he had to switch to southpaw. Out of southpaw, you can tell he doesn't really have as much power, or he's not as comfortable throwing that big power shot. He's just kind of like almost reaching and just peppering guys. But third round, man, Ponzi was looking good still. I mean, he wasn't really gassed out or anything, and I thought this is going to be a decision. Going to lose this bet, and then he comes in and just floors him with that one shot. And honest opinion about Kevin Holland, it's like he had that 1 year where he had 5 wins in a row. And I mean, he had a lot of hype behind him, and he was getting knockouts, and he just doesn't look the same to me. He doesn't have that style anymore, it doesn't seem like. And in that first round, when he wasn't really getting his right hand going, I was like, man, is his hand still broken from the Wonder Boy fight? Or not broken, but hurt? I mean, because he looked like he was, he really laid off of that big right hand. And maybe it was just Ponzi. Maybe I wasn't paying a close enough attention to Ponzi, and he just was giving him so much problems finding that range and finding that shot. But yeah, found the knockout. That's all that matters. I don't know who he fights next. I feel like it's just all fun fights for Holland right now. I don't think he's making a run at any title, or I don't even know if he wants to, honestly. He just seems like a guy that wants to go in there and fight. And give people a show. So, yeah, glad we cashed that one, though.
Yeah, I'm okay with that if he just takes fun fights. Because, I think he had that win streak, and he kind of, needed to get those wins to get his name out there. And now he's got his name out there. People love him. That he's I'm probably not the caliber of, championship material. But, I'm a fun fighter and a good personality. So I'll lean into that a little bit. So, it's fun to watch and fun to have around an event as well. Raul Rosas Jr. getting kind of exposed by Christian Rodriguez, getting the dub there. See right there, 2 significant strikes landed
Yeah.
the entire fight, man. That was the lock of the card, was the under 26.5 significant strikes
Oh
for
my God.
Raul Rosas Jr. I mean, in his UFC career, I mean, he's only landed 5 significant strikes. So, yeah, we'll see what that number is like next time, but I was all over that. I had a weird feeling that Rosas was gonna get exposed a little bit because I was looking at the money spread, like Friday morning, and it was like 90% of the money was on Raul Rosas Jr. at like minus 240 or something around there. If you see that, like 90% of the money on a minus 240 line, to me that screams red flag. Like that line should probably be higher, and you just don't like being on like the side of that much money. It's just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't sit right with me. So I had him in a parlay with Carl Williams that I put in a couple days before, and I was just kind of looking at that fight. I'm like, it just screams red flags to me. So I didn't get too invested in it. But man, that first round looked like it was going to be a similar thing to the Jay Perrin. Not quite as easy, but it looked like he was Raul Rosas Jr. And then second and third round just couldn't get the takedowns. And he's like, didn't look like the game plan. Like that had never happened to him. So it's like, well, the game plan is kind of out the window. Like, I don't know if I can't get it. I don't know what the fuck to do. So he's just tried shooting, couldn't get it, would get reversed. And when he was on the ground, when he was on the bottom, like couldn't really get out too much. Chris Rodriguez is good though. Like nothing to hang your head about. To losing to Chris Rodriguez, I think he's going to be good in the UFC. And it's only 18, so I just hope he doesn't go down the Chase Hooper route. So, what'd you think?
No, yeah, it can kind of go one of two ways for him. He can learn a ton from this, go back to the drawing board, take a little time off. I think sharpen the skills and what you didn't do well in this fight. Try to just get better in those areas. Or being an 18-year-old kid and taking a loss like that as a big favorite, I don't know if he's necessarily cocky, but had all of that confidence. Like that could be huge mentally, like in a negative way. I mean, you're only 18 years old and you just fought in front of however many hundreds of thousands of people who are watching at home, big Miami live crowd. And you're supposed to win the fight. And I don't know if he necessarily got embarrassed, but I mean, he looked lost in the third round. He was, desperation shots. Once he got on the bottom, he had no idea how to get up. I mean, not that he even could, because Rodriguez, like you said, is very good. I mean, all the credit to Rodriguez for that control. But he just didn't have an answer for anything after that midway through that second round. So, you just wonder like what that does to a kid who's 18-year-old, his confidence and his mental game. You hope it doesn't affect him like that, and you hope he takes some time, gets better, and comes back strong. And I think he probably will. But yeah, man, he kind of, I don't want to say he got exposed, but man, maybe a little bit too soon for a guy like Rodriguez.
Yeah, I hope he can come back because there's a lot of people. I was in there, and when he came out, like a lot of people loved him. So
Yep.
hopefully he can continue to grow and improve. Chris Curtis, Kelvin Gastelum, questionable 30-27 for Kelvin Gastelum. 29-28, I could definitely see, but I thought Chris Curtis won that third round. And as I was watching it, I thought he won the second, but watching it live is a little tough to really judge anything, especially when you're not, down on the floor or you're not cage side. So, yeah, a fun fight. I mean, fight of the night. It was a wild fight, just standing and banging, and everything that entailed. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, no, we were on Chris Curtis, and we both said, like midway through the week, you just had that feeling that maybe Kelvin was going to get this one. I don't know. I just get that feeling sometimes. I don't know what it is. I feel like every sports bettor or UFC fan might get that feeling sometimes. And Kelvin 1-5 in his last 6. Had that fight with Izzy, a couple of years ago where he looked really good and was probably Izzy's toughest fight up until Alex. And since then, hasn't really looked like the same Kelvin until last night. I mean, he looked really good. He looked super fast too.
Yeah.
Hit Curtis with some really good shots in the first round. Second round comes, it's kind of even. Still Kelvin, in my opinion, winning, and then they have the accidental headbutt that kind of drops Curtis for a minute, and from there, after that, Curtis just looked gassed. He looked gassed to me, and just wasn't really the same. Came on strong in the third round, landed a lot of shots, a ton of significant strikes to the body, head, everything, and he outstruck Kelvin by like 20 significant strikes. Or at one point, he was ahead on strikes in that third round by like 20 strikes. So I thought he won the third round too. 30-27 is crazy in my opinion, but hats off to Kelvin, man. He looked really good. He looked like a brand new fighter, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it looked like he was in good shape too. I mean,
Really, for sure.
he hasn't. People always say he's a welterweight, but he looked like he kind of filled out 185 a little bit better. Even I mean, he's 5'9", but still looked like he was pretty bulky for 185. So we'll see who he gets next, because it'd be interesting to see where they put him, having been 1-5 in his last 6, and then picking up the win over Curtis.
Yeah,
we'll see. Michelle Waterson-Gomez and Luana Pinheiro. Waterson-Gomez, a lot of people screaming robbery, which I could see. It was a tough fight to really judge where I was sitting, because it's women's MMA and it's just kind of greasy stand-up type of fight. But I didn't even catch the first round, so I'll let you take this one and give your thoughts, because I can't really say too much about it. I won't sit here and lie. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was close. Waterson is older. I don't necessarily think she lost a step. I thought she did really good work. Her kicks kind of kept Luana out of that range where she could shoot shots and go for takedowns. That front kick was looking really good. Volume wise, I think Waterson, it made her look a little bit better in that fight, because her significant strikes, a lot of kicks, a lot of front kicks to the chest. Her striking with the hands was good, but Luana definitely was landing like the more meaningful, significant strikes, if that makes sense. Like, she was definitely doing more damage with her shots. But in that third round, I thought it was Waterson all day. She looked fresher, crisper, way more volume, way more significant strikes. Somebody gave it to her 30-27, which was insane to me. But yeah, I was on Waterson for that exact reason of Luana maybe getting tired somewhere midway through the fight towards the end. It happened with Random Marcos, and Marcos had that illegal up kick, and then Luana kind of, obviously put on that acting job, gave up, and got the DQ win. But Waterson, I thought looked pretty good. She looked super in shape for being, her age and having that many fights on her record. But yeah, I want to say Waterson won. Definitely not a robbery. Like, it was super close. Just one of those fights that could go either way. I had Waterson, so I didn't like the decision, but at the end of the day, you can't be mad at it.
Yeah, it's pretty fair. Joey P getting the first round KO over Gerald Meerschaert. This one I was really high on Joe Pyfer this week, and he came through for us. So getting the KO win over Gerald Meerschaert, looked like he was patient in there and just kind of waited for his spot. And then when he goes, he throws hard. And if he lands on you, there's not a lot of people that can take those shots from Joey P. So a good win there. And it was kind of like a kryptonite fight, like Pyfer I think he's solid on the ground, but that's, where Meerschaert kind of shines. Pyfer's got that big power, and Meerschaert hasn't really done so good against big, powerful guys in the past. So a good matchup, I think, for Pyfer if it was going to stay on the feet, because if he lands, he's going to put him out. And he did. Got that round 1 KO plus 425, which had a half unit on. Don't really see me throwing a half unit on plus 425 plays, but I was confident in that one, and he came through for me there. So I was happy about that. Good to see him get a win as well. So what'd you think?
Yeah, no, the good thing, like, for Pyfer, a guy like that who's super powerful, has really good striking, super strong too. You can just tell in there. He looked like he'd put on muscle, and he looked big.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, looked really good. And if he wants to keep fights on the feet, I just feel like he's gonna be able to. He's got that wrestling in his back pocket, kind of, I feel like he's like a Justin Gaethje style, where, not necessarily a striking style, but has great wrestling, but he's going to use it to keep fights on the feet. He's not going to go out there and offensively look for takedowns unless, he has to. But yeah, I liked him to win that fight too, just for that exact reason. Like Gerald obviously was going to want that fight on the ground. Pyfer being that big and strong and great wrestling too, had the ability to keep it on the feet. That's exactly what happened, and he ended up catching him. I mean, that power is real, man. He's got a bright future in the UFC. I can't wait to watch him fight again. He's just one of those guys that every time he fights, you got to watch.
Yeah, it's like you hold your breath because he kind of like stalks you.
Yeah.
And then waits for his opening, and then he just fucking goes for it. And he landed that left hook on the chin of Meerschaert, and then that powerful right hand to just put him out. And then he's just on the ground covered up, and Goddard's just kind of like waiting for Pyfer to like really finish him off. And Pyfer's like, I don't think I need to finish him off. He's just covering up. Like, I don't need to hit him anymore. But he hit him a couple times, and Godin steps in. I was like screaming. I'm like, just hit him. Like, just hit him to take him out, because Goddard was going to give him every chance.
I know.
In there. And I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, that's kind of like a weird spot as far as everything goes, because you want to kind of protect the fighter that you're going against. But at the same time, like, if you let up and then he gets back up to his feet, like, I don't know. If I'm in the cage, I would just think, like, just beat on the guy, like, until the ref stops in. Like, it's kind of your job to do that, and it's the ref's job to step in as fast as he can. So sketchy stuff there, but he didn't work. It worked out. Cynthia Calvillo, Lupi Godinez. This one, I think, was another little grease spot. I honestly thought Calvillo won for where I was sitting, but it's just that one of those fights, man. Like, women's MMA, heavy favorite versus heavy dog. Calvillo coming down to 115. I thought she would be able to stuff takedowns, and on the feet, I think that's more close to like a 50-50 fight. And I thought it was like a 50-50 fight. Turned out to be, it was a split decision. And I would have gave it to Calvillo. Like, I honestly thought that she just kind of landed the better strikes, a little bit more volume. She outlanded her in the last two rounds, 38-32, 48-36, and no takedowns from Godinez at all. Calvillo was the only one to land a takedown. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I was gonna sprinkle a little bit on Calvillo. Ultimately, I think I just forgot to do it because it was so busy the past couple of days. But yeah, I mean, if I had a ticket on her, I'd be a little bit more upset about it. But I don't know. I wouldn't say robbery because it's just a close fight. But I thought Calvillo did enough to pull it off. What do you think?
Yeah, sitting at home, I kind of thought the same way, but at the same time, I was like, man, this really could go either way, because Calvillo, as the fight went on, was definitely had the more volume. But early, like first 1.5 rounds, I'd say Godinez was landing like sharper strikes, like maybe a little more power, a little more something on the end of those. But man, as the fight went on, it's like it seems like the judges always score fights like second half. If it's close, whoever wins that second half usually wins the fight, in my opinion. And it definitely seemed like Calvillo was like the fresher fighter, more durable, and definitely bigger in there too. I'll throw that in there. She looked a lot bigger than Godinez. I think it gave Godinez a little bit of trouble. But overall, yeah, I thought it was going to be another big women's underdog cash in for sure. Godinez just kind of has abandoned that offensive wrestling. I know. I mean, she grappled a little bit, and it was surprising to me to think that she wasn't going to shoot any takedowns in that first round while she was fresh. So I know Cynthia Calvillo is a great wrestler too. High takedown average for both women. I mean, Godinez has beaten girls in the past just purely off that alone, and I think she's kind of fallen in love with that stand-up game. Not saying she would have went out there and got takedowns necessarily, but she's kind of gotten away from her bread and butter.
Yeah, I was eyeing up that Godinez under 3 takedowns the whole week, and I just couldn't get myself to take it because she has good wrestling. She just does she use it or not? And then I look at Calvillo, and she doesn't really get taken down. Like, she's got really good takedown defense. She rarely gets taken down at all. And looking back on it now, I kind of wish I would have took it because she didn't land a single one, and it was set at 3. So I mean, it's a pretty high number to begin with in general, and then you don't land any at all. It's a tough one to look back on. Ignacio Bahamondes getting the dub against Trey Ogden. Kind of putting on a good little performance as far as, range striking goes. Taller guy against Trey Ogden, who's also actually fairly big for 155 as well. But just you could tell that there was a significant striking advantage for Ignacio. Look at these numbers. I mean, 26 to 9, 30 to 16, 43 to 17, and just out volumed him. Stayed at range. Trey Ogden just never really got going. I mean, if he really, kind of started to push the pace, probably would have given himself a better chance to get a win in this one. I'm surprised by the 29-28 for like one of the judges gave Trey Ogden a round. I'm like, I don't know. It's interesting, but okay. Maybe off of damage if you're just looking at the damage per strike, but he doubled him up in like every round, doubled or tripled him up in every round. So I thought it was clear 30-27, but cashed the Bahamondes by decision plus 165. So I was happy about that. What do you think?
Yeah, Bahamondes is fun. He's got a style that I thought it'd give Trey Ogden a lot of problems. You look at that Zellhuber fight for Ogden, and it's almost like Zellhuber just didn't show up that night because Ogden's not he's not a real crisp and empowering striker, and he wants to get fights to the ground. And against Bahamondes, there was none of that. I mean, he couldn't even get the opportunity to get in. And Bahamondes, the volume, the toughness, hits hard too. He makes it a lot of fun to watch. That was an easy decision for him. I think he's got fun fights ahead of him too. Trey Ogden, I just don't against those good strikers like that, like legitimate good strikers, he's going to struggle a lot. But Bahamondes is going to be a fun fighter to watch.
Yeah, I wanted to get to Trey Ogden, but I'm just like, I just don't see it. Just don't see it in this one. Nuerdanbieke almost getting the knockout in first round, and then Steve Garcia coming back in the second round, catching him a couple times and putting him away. Boy, the mean machine, Steve Garcia, keeping the knockout train rolling. Looks like he's got some great hands at 145. Big dude. I think he's like 6 foot, coming down from 155 after his knockout loss to Meerschaert. And cashing the plus 425 ticket for us by KO, Steve Garcia, my guy. I was happy about that. It scared me, of course, in that first round after he got dropped. And then I'm sitting there like, oh, this is going to be a Steve Garcia knockout loss. But nope, turns it around in round 2. He always comes out to fight. It's always fun to watch. What you think?
Yeah, no, super fun fight, man. Great way to, second fight on the card. Great way to kind of kick things off. But made me nervous in that first one. Shylon landed that beautiful right hand. He almost was out cold for a minute. Almost woke up from the mat when he hit the mat, and then came back, man. And Shylon, you could tell, was getting a little bit tired, and Garcia capitalized. He's super fun to watch. He's almost too aggressive though, and he's going to get caught at times.
Yeah.
Overall though, my best money line play, biggest underdog I had on the money line. And yeah, man, he's so fun to watch. Just junkyard dog written all over him. That's exactly who I love taking for underdogs. Guys who are gonna, make it worth your money. Even if they lose, they're gonna have a chance. And yeah, I don't know. I got me pumped too. Right at the beginning of the card, you hit a big, a decent sized underdog like that. But fun fight. I'd watch those two fight all day long.
Yeah. At the plus money, I think you got to take Steve. You got to take him because he's going to come to fight, and he's going to throw caution to the wind.
Yep.
First fight of the night, Jacqueline Amorim and Sam Hughes. That first round, man, I thought she was dead to rights. Amorim had the neck under Sam Hughes's chin, or the arm under her chin, and damn near put her out. And then after that, she just blew her load in that first round. Really, I think she just tried to squeeze way too much. I don't think she had it fully locked in, but she just tried to get her out of there in that first round, and then blew everything she had out. And the next 2 rounds just had nothing. You could see her after the first round. She also had that the body triangle locked in when she had her back for a while, when she was on her feet. probably hurt or blew her legs out a little bit there. You could see it like after every round, she was barely making it to her corner. I'm like, dang, Sam Hughes just taking over. And that did you see that like gambling thing where her like boyfriend put
Oh,
a
yeah.
or whatever? She
Yeah.
said at the press conference. I'm like, oh
Shouldn't
boy.
have said that one.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a little weird because usually if you're gonna bet like that kind of money, like in the Minner situation, if you bet on Shyland, you know like Minner's gonna lose and everything connected with that. But if you bet on her to win, it's a little different. Like
You're not throwing a fight or anything.
yeah, you're not like throwing
Yeah.
a fight. So we'll see how that kind of pans out. But yeah, what you think of the fight?
Yeah, no, I think we talked about it on the preview show that, Amorim has that finishing ability, doesn't really get past the first round. So you have no idea what she's going to look like as the fight goes on. And I think we called it out on the preview show saying that that's a perfect live betting opportunity if Sam can stuff some takedowns or just survive that first round, because Sam's going to be there for all three. And Amorim looked tired, like you said, probably blew her arms out. And Sam just took over, man. It's kind of what she does too. She hangs around. She's tough. She stays in fights, and she finds a way to grind out a win. Yeah, huge play for you though, being on her. So that was a good one to start it with. But
Sam Page.
that's right.
I didn't have it in the premiums, but I threw a little bit on her as an underdog because women's MMA.
Yeah.
Sam Page is going to be that dog, and going against the girl making her debut. I think she was too big of a dog to pass up,
right,
and not take. So,
yep,
that's it for this card. UFC 287. That's the recap. Quite the card. I was really happy and blessed to see it in person. It was nuts. It was nuts, and hopefully we can do more of that in the future. But other than that, another good week in the books for the premium plays, and we'll move on to UFC Kansas City next week. Hopefully, keep everything rolling with the good vibes and the good cashes. Got anything else for UFC 287?
Nothing else for 287. Like I said earlier, best card of the year so far for sure. And if you're going to be at Kansas City, shoot me a DM. Let me know. Let's meet up. I'm going to be there live. I can't wait, man. It's going to be a long week just trying to get till Saturday. But Kansas City, it's got some good fights on the card too. Like I said, I cannot wait to be there.
The parlay live in the cut, UFC KC. Hit them up. And we'll have the preview show out to you guys as soon as possible so you can get your everything you need to know as far as that card goes. Until then, the double leg. You can reach us on social media at the double leg, at HeyJaiPicks on the medias. For me, where can they find you?
TikTok, the Parlay, Instagram and Twitter, the Parlay_media, and on YouTube, the Parlay MMA.
If you're watching here on YouTube, drop a like, drop a subscription. We're bringing you all the heat for UFC every week with the recaps and the previews. Till then, in the UFC Kansas City preview, the double leg signing off.